It makes a difference if it's on. I just gotta say, what a better way to, I'm honored to not only be able to speak today, but to follow that kind of a worship. You know, it just is like, wow, God, you're just really setting this thing up. Because, you know, the whole week, because I think Mikey told me on Sunday, you know, we were casually having a conversation, we were just talking, and all of a sudden he goes, oh, by the way, you're speaking next Sunday. I was like, oh, he's not joking. So it kind of took me off guard, but at the same time, I didn't feel the same way that I used to feel when that bomb was dropped on me. And I knew that God had to have been doing some preparing in me. And my husband's like, I knew it. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you didn't tell me, because I would have freaked out sooner. But it's interesting. God knows exactly how I am. He knows how you are. So when he was getting things ready in me, he gave me the word early. And it was just like, wow, not only did you tell me what I was doing, but you told me what I'm going to speak on a Tuesday. Wow. You know, I think he just wanted me to relax and just feel at ease. And first of all, I just got to say, I already feel that because you guys are my family. It was different for me when I was up here at the funeral because it was a lot of people. And I was just like, man, where did this nervousness come from? I was sitting there, I didn't know how to act. And the pastor was like, I'm going to have you read the scripture. And I felt like I was like 5, like, how do you do that? Do I just read it like this? Do I add some, you know, it was like all this pressure just for reading the scripture because I was in front of people that weren't my family. You guys are my family. And so I said, to relax myself, one of the things I'm going to do is look at you all as a group of teenagers. So that works out for you, you know, because I speak to the teens every week at youth groups. So I'm like, well, they're all teenagers. This is not a big deal, you know. I'm not going to collect your phones and all your electronic devices like we do in youth group. And, you know, I just do that so they're not distracted. And here's the awesome thing about it. Those guys do it willingly. It's not like I have to pry it from somebody's hand, you know, pass the basket around and they all know and they just, you know, just like it's an offering. You know, they just drop it in there. And I put my own in there also. So I lead by example. But one of the things that God dealt with me on was trust. And it's like, wow, God, you're not beating around the bush with this. You're picking something that I even have trouble with. Still, if I'm going to be honest, this is something I have trouble with. To this day, there's areas in my life that I have not fully trusted God in. And it's gotten better over the years, but there's still little areas, you know. So I looked up the definition of trust. Now this is kind of long, but it creates that point that I'm talking about. So to trust is to a belief that someone or something is reliable, good, honest, effective, reliance on the integrity, strength, ability, surety of a person or thing, confidence, to have confidence, hope. Listen to this one. To sell merchandise on credit. To have trust or confidence in, rely or depend on, to believe, to expect confidently, to commit or co-sign or consign, to commit or consign with trust or confidence, to permit, to remain, or go somewhere, or to do something without fear of consequences. And what I did is I pulled up like Webster's first, and then I pulled up this other one, and that's what it gave me. I am a teacher by nature. Now, it took me a lot of years to really recognize that and understand that. It's something that I was like, oh, I don't even say that, you know, because I wasn't educated yet. You know, I hadn't gotten my degrees that said you are now a teacher, you know. And so I was like, don't say that because people think you think you're qualified when you're not. Well, no, God has qualified me. And one of the things I started to see were those giftings of teachings. And I talk about this in my class at work, you know, when we talk about personality types. And one of the things that I'm not is, there's like 4 different personality types. You know, the dominant, the I, the S, and the C, stable and compliant, and then, anyway, I'm not dominant, you know, by nature. Now, I've had to step up and become dominant in some cases, but typically, overall, that's just not me. I'm not a very, like, frank to the point person. You know, dominant people are like that. You want to know how you look at something, they're going to tell you right off the bat. So I would not make a good lawyer. I admire what Paul does, but I would not make a good lawyer because that teacher in me, I'd sit there and listen to the prosecuting attorney's case and I'd be like, you hear what he said? Why didn't you? You did that too? And I'd want to thump him in the back of the head. Like, why did you do all that stuff? That was stupid, you know? Let's go over here and talk about what you did instead of trying to help them in their case. And I wouldn't make a good judge either. You have to typically be dominant in that case because you have to lay down the law. And I'd be like, well, you know, let's give him one more chance. Your Honor, he's been up here 8 times, so maybe the 9th time again. Maybe this time he'll get it through his head and stop doing it. You know, but of course all the guys in my class at that time were like, yeah, we want you to be the judge. You know, because they're all sitting in there because the judge put them there. Well, let me take that back. They made choices that the judge caused them to make the decision. So we always talk about ownership a lot in my class, but trust is a big, big thing. So I found this video. I do a lot of videos in youth group, and it accurately describes what we do in our trust walk with God.
Jesus, I just don't trust you.
You don't trust me?
No, I mean, I want to trust you, I just don't.
I have an exercise that I think will really help.
Oh, okay.
Stand here and face this direction. Now, do you trust me?
No, I just said I don't trust you.
This is all part of the exercise.
Oh,
all right?
okay.
Whenever I ask you if you trust me, you say, yes, Jesus, I trust you.
Even though I don't.
That's practice.
Okay.
So, do you trust me?
Yes, Jesus, I trust you.
Now, fall back.
Are you going to catch me?
Don't worry about that.
Okay, that's the part I'm worried about.
You can do this, okay? Just trust me.
Trust you.
Fall back.
Okay, well, Jesus, I trust
Good.
you. I do trust you.
Okay. Let's try this again. Just face this direction and keep your feet planted. All right? Do you trust me?
Yes, Jesus, I trust you.
Now, fall back.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
All right.
I'm really gonna do it.
Good.
Oh, Jesus, you're really good! That was great! That was great!
You're ready for level 2.
Level 2, here I come, baby!
Okay, hold it.
Oh, you know what? You're too close. You need to go back.
Right. This one's a little bit different.
Oh, okay.
Stand here,
Uh-huh.
but face me.
Oh, forward ball. I can do that.
Wait. Okay, wait for my signal.
Oh, right, the Jesus signal.
Yes, the Jesus signal. Do you trust me?
Yes, Jesus, I trust you so much.
Good. Fall back.
Awesome.
It is awesome. Especially when you do it.
Seriously?
Of course.
Okay, Jesus, I don't know if you noticed this, but there is nobody over there.
I know it looks that way to you.
It looks that way. It is that way.
You can do this, Laura. Just trust me and fall back.
Jesus, I can't do that.
We can do it together.
I can't.
You can.
I won't. Jesus, I just don't trust you.
You don't trust me?
No, I mean, I want to trust you, I just don't.
I have an exercise that I think will really help.
Oh, okay.
Stand here and face this direction.
So we can see this is how a lot of times we do with God. You know, when I was growing up, I learned the trust lesson pretty early in life, as did probably a lot of you. And one of the things that I learned was that I had to rely on me a little bit too much. I learned how, well, it's like, yeah, well, let's see. If I wait for people to come pick me up, this almost sounds like my mom's message last week. If I have to wait for somebody to come pick me up, and then they're late or they don't show up, it would have been a whole lot easier if I just did it myself. Oh, okay, I get it. If I ask people to do things, they could take the chance on not doing it or not doing it the way that I wanted them to do it. And it's just that much easier if I do it myself. Okay, wait a minute, yes. Let me put all this together. I don't trust other people, but I trust me. Because I won't fail me. That way, if something happens, I know it's all on me. So basically, I made myself the God of me and trust. And so when God came into my life, it was that much harder to relinquish that self-reliance from me to Him. I had to walk through and learn that He's not like people. He's not like people. He doesn't do us like people. When God says He's going to be there, He's there. He's already there before we even thought He was going to be there. When God says that He's going to do something, He does it. When I looked up the word trust, I found 361 worship songs that have the word trust in them from this one database. There could be more than that. I found 2,020 secular songs that have the word trust in them. What does that say to you? The difference in the numbers, 361, 2020. The world is crying out to trust people, to trust something other than themselves. But they've been hurt too, just like us. We've been hurt. I pulled up some Barna stats now. I am like a stats junkie, okay? That's part of the whole teacher thing. So I pulled up some stats, and this was a new one that George Barna did with the state of atheism in America. Some of them are pretty discouraging if you let it be that way. But it said he classified people as skeptics. Skeptics are people that he classified either do not believe God exists, which are atheists, or who are not sure that God exists, but are they're open to the possibility, what we would call agnostics. Skeptics represent 1/4 of all unchurched adults, which is 25%. Nearly 1/3 of skeptics have never attended a Christian church service in their lives. 31%. That's nearly double the proportion of people who are not skeptics, that's 17%. 1 in 4 unchurched adults are skeptics, so they're either agnostics or they're atheists. The profile of a typical skeptic is different today from a decade or two ago. Today's skeptics, like their counterparts from 2 decades ago, are defined by their denial of or doubts about God's existence. And there are 5 demographic shifts among skeptics. First thing is they are younger. Skeptics today are on average younger than in the past. 20 years ago, 18% of skeptics were under 30 years old. Today that has nearly doubled to 34%. What is going on? By the same token, the proportion of skeptics who are 65 or older has been cut in half, down to just 7%. Number 2, they're more educated. Today's skeptics tend to be better educated than in the past. 2 decades ago, 1/3 of skeptics were college graduates, but today half of the group has a college degree. 3, more of them are women. Perhaps the biggest transition of all is the entry of millions of women into the skeptic ranks. In 1993, there were only 16% of atheists and agnostics that were women. By 2013, it tripled to 43%. So 16 to 34, or 43. 4, they are more racially diverse. It says, while whites represent 80% of all skeptics 20 years ago, that figure dropped to 74% by 2013. And then the 5th thing, they're more dispersed regionally. So what does all that mean? It means that we need to get on our job more as believers in God, of showing people what it is to trust God. Not just saying that we trust God, but showing people what it is to trust God. Skeptics piece together different inputs to draw their conclusions. Now listen to this. There are 3 primary components that led to this belief in God's existence. Rejection of the Bible, a lack of trust in the local church, and cultural reinforcement of a secular worldview. Think about that. A rejection of the Bible, lack of trust in the local church, and cultural reinforcement of a secular worldview. Now, I've done some studies on like worldview and what it means to have a secular worldview versus a Christian, biblical worldview. When you have a secular worldview, you look at things, every single situation by the world's standards. Everything that goes on, it's like, should I do this, should I do that? It's all comes from a secular standpoint. When it's biblical, the opposite is true. Of course, you base everything off the Word of God. We had a lesson, I want to say, it was 2 Wednesdays ago. And one of the things that God had shared with me was that the question that we were asking about whether we should do something or not was the wrong question. We were asking the wrong question. One of the things he said was, we shouldn't be asking these things if it's right or wrong, but what we should be asking is, why do we want to do it? What's the reason behind what that thing is that we want to do? And more importantly, what are we getting from it? And whatever we're getting from that thing or that activity, is it something we're supposed to be getting only from God? Which means that now, if I replace that thing, or if I replace God, my relationship with God with that thing, then I'm effectively creating an idol. Okay? So, whether it's smoking, whether it's drinking, you talk to different Christians, you'll hear different spectrums. Some will say, well, I don't believe you should drink alcohol at all. And you talk to other Christians, well, the Bible says no, it just says as long as you don't get drunk, you're okay, so I drink in moderation. But the whole question goes back to, think about that, put it up to that standard now. Why is it that I want to do this thing? I'm not picking on alcohol, believe me, I'm not picking on it at all. I wouldn't pick on any other thing, because I have my own issues that some of you could pick on. But it's why? Is it an escape? Is it something that I'm looking to forget a problem that I have right now? Am I doing it to feel good? But is that supposed to come from Him? Is that supposed to come from Him? God, you are my escape. God, you are my feel good. It doesn't mean I can't go play video games or things like that, because then something like that can very easily become an idol if it's chosen over other things, right? I'm not going to go to church because I'm going to sit here and play this video game. I'm not going to read my Bible. I'm not going to pray because I'm playing this video game. So it can very easily become an idol, but the content of that game should be put on that same standard. Why do I want to do this? So there's many situations where we don't realize that we put trust in. When I got up this morning, every morning, unfortunately, I have to take pills, okay? Some of you may have to take pills at some time in your life. And so there's one for this, there's one for that, there's one for this. Too many that I'm working on getting rid of anyway. But I thought about that this morning when I popped that pill in my mouth. I was like, you know what? I'm trusting that the doctor that prescribed that pill, that this is going to work. I don't know if it's going to work. I haven't gone to the medical dictionary and gone, let me look up hydrochlorothiazide and see what it does. Oh yeah, it's supposed to do. But even in that, isn't there trust in that? There's trust. Somebody had to write that in that medical dictionary and say, this is what hydrochlorothiazide does. Right? So I had to trust that when I popped that pill, that the doctor gave me the right dosage, that he gave me the right medicine, and that it's not going to cause me more harm than it is good. So we put our faith, we put our trust in doctors. Another thing we do, contracts. Think about when you enter into a contract with someone. Okay? We are trusting that that person's going to fulfill their obligations of the contract while we fulfill ours. Well, I do this, you do that. What they call tit for tat, right? Marriage vows. That's a whole nother thing. We're trusting that that person's going to love us forever. We're trusting that that person's going to commit to every word they're speaking out of their mouth on that day that we get married. And we don't have a clue whether it's going to last 10 minutes, 10 days, 10 years. I'm thankful that my husband and I, in September, we will have been married 25 years. Yes, I got married when I was 3. So, in that time, it's been a lot of, if you've been married any length of time, it goes like, ooh, and then, and I can't even imagine walking through that type of commitment without God in the middle.
Come on.
Because we had our struggles with God in the middle because you're still dealing with people. I have my own ideas of what marriage is, and typically a little girl comes in, you know, and she's just like, oh, I just want the big fancy wedding and the big white dress, and you know, and me and Ken will skip off in the sunset, and we'll live happily ever after in a little white house with a picket fence, and when they say 2.3 kids, 2.3. So, anyway, we're trusting that that marriage is going to last, that that marriage is going to work. So we have trust in there. We also trust in raising our children, that the things that we do, there's no instruction manual for how we parent our kids, and we make mistakes, and the kids know we make mistakes. But we hope that by the time they get to become an adult, not on their own, that we haven't messed them up. Okay? That's the hope is that they will walk after the things of God, and that they will follow in the things that we have instilled in them, and that it will be okay. You know, there's trust. There's a trust in God in that. One of the other things I think about is my job, our jobs. We trust that when I step foot on my job, that Lakeland College is going to pay me a set amount of dollars, and they're going to give me all these benefits that they told me they would give me. Otherwise, we have a problem. Of course, my friends, the state workers out there, are having an issue right now, but we're continuing to pray for that because I talk to the officers out there every day, and one of the things I say to them, I was like, man, I could not do what you do. There's no way. And thank you for doing what you do, for being here as a security person. Now, everything in me knows, even in my job, there's a lot of trust I have to put in God that's not out there at Dixon Correctional Center. Because let me tell you, when I first started out working there, it was like somebody, somewhere along the way, led me to believe that the officers had guns. You know, so I was like, okay, you know, I can do this, right? And there with a bunch of men prisoners, and the officer has a gun. And my supervisor was like, nope. Okay, they got tasers, yeah. Nope. Pepper spray? Nope. Well, what do they have? Radio. Okay, let me get this straight. They have a radio. Yeah, they have a radio. Okay, all right, I can deal with that. The officer's in the room with me, that's all right. You know, he in the back right there while I'm teaching the computers to the inmates, and you know, the officer's in the room, he got the radio, when something get out of hand, he would like stand back with, you know, reinforcements. No, he's not in the room with you. He's not in the room. Well, where is he? Well, okay, let me explain to you. This computer lab is like, let's say it's down this hallway over where Tom is, right? So you come out of that room, it has two double metal doors, and the only window in this room is concrete walls. This room used to be like a boiler room or something. The only window is up above to the left or to the right of these two doors, and it's a small one. It's not even as big as this window over here. So it's a small little window. Those two double doors shut and they go boom, you know, they hit a thud. So over there, all the way out, up the hall, and there's the officer's desk. Wait a minute, so he's sitting out there, and I could have trouble in here. Houston, we have a problem. Because what happens if something were to go down? He can't get to me fast enough. What's going to happen? So then I was like, okay, all right, you know, I can do this. This is nothing, you know. So the guys in my class, somewhere again, somebody led me to believe that these guys were not murderers and rapists and stuff in my class. They were like petty theft, burglaries, you know, stuff like that. I was like, okay, you know, this is light stuff. This is all right. And it's a good thing I didn't find out till afterwards, you know, because I've made it a rule with myself not to look up these guys for two reasons. Usually, so I can stay as an educator to them and not treat them any differently and give them a chance, you know, to change their life, you know, put that opportunity out there. And the second thing is, I don't want to know what I'm dealing with right there, okay? Because I looked up a group after my first class in computers, and it was like one had second-degree murder, another one had this. Well, what happened to the petty theft, burglary, thievery, you know? And that was not the case at all. So there is a lot of trust that I have in God. As I come in there, I'm praying all the way down in my walk every morning. I'm like, God, I thank you that you're surrounding me and my family with your hedge of protection. God, I thank you you're protecting me from any hurt, harm, danger, injury, sickness, or disease. And then I also pray for those men that I'm about to encounter. Because one thing for sure is that if something were to go down, that officer out there in that hall, way down that hall, could not come in and do anything. I have to rely on him. So there's that trust again. I have to rely on God for my safety. So, it's one of those areas again. When I broke my leg, I gotta take a drink, it's really dry. When I broke my leg, we do this thing at work, the self-assessment thing, where we do this little evaluation where you check your ability to accept responsibility and some other areas. And one of them is an area called interdependence. Okay? If you're familiar with interdependence, what that is your ability to let other people help you. Okay? That's a big fancy word, and there's an informal definition. It's like basically saying you scratch my back, I scratch yours. And when you're very independent, you don't like letting other people help you. Case in point, right? So I don't want anybody helping me because somebody said, hey, Mrs. Worley, I see you got a bunch of boxes. Can I help you? Oh, no, I got it. I got it. Let me get over here, get my keys, open my door. Okay, thank you, though. I got it. I don't need your help. Until I broke my leg. And before I broke my leg 3 days after Christmas, I took one of those self-evaluations, and out of 80 points, my interdependence score was like 18. That's how low it was, which means I didn't need no help from nobody, okay? I got this, okay? I'll let God help me because I can trust him, but everybody else, I don't know about that. So then I broke my leg, and I was like, that interdependence score went like this, pew, out the window. And it was just like, I had to depend on my family. I had to depend on my husband. My husband was there doing all kinds of things. One time I got in my head, this was like just a few days after I had surgery, I went into the bathroom. He probably had been laughing at me. It was so funny because I said, yeah, I'm gonna go in here and take a shower. And then he said, oh, okay, you need my help? Oh no, because I got it. I got this. I got the garbage bag on my calves. I put 2, strips of duct tape around the top. I was good to go. I put my little knee walker, I wheeled it in there, went to the shower, put my knees up on it, I got in there. I said, okay, all right, now how am I gonna do this? Turn it around, and I can't put my leg down. I gotta do like this, and I gotta try to watch myself and balance, and so I got in there, and this is how persistent my husband is. I had locked the door. More so out of habit. So I locked the door, and next thing I know, he goes, you all right in there? And I was in tears by that time. I was laid up against the shower, and he's like, you all right? No. So he broke in the door. We won't discuss how my husband has skills to break into things. That's former Jack Worley. But he broke in, and he came in there, and I remember leaning up against the shower, and I was just like, I feel like an old person. No offense to older people. But I was like, when somebody has to wash you, you want to talk about humility. Oh my gosh. And I came out with such an appreciation for my family. I came out with an appreciation of people that, just the ability to walk. You know what I mean? I took the kids down, and I'm thankful that Bob went down with me because I couldn't even drive. We drove down to Winter Jam, or I should say he drove down to Winter Jam, and Sherry came too, and all the kids were in there. We got into the old Allstate Arena. Now, the Allstate Arena used to be what was called the Rosemont Horizon. Antique building, not handicap friendly at all. Of course, you don't think about those things when you got 2 legs to walk on, right? So I get in there, I was like, I'm not taking my crutches, I'm just gonna take the knee walker. So we get in there, I was asking for the lady, I was like, well, where do I go? Oh, you go up here, and this is one. So they had a box area that was over to the left, as soon as you came in the door. And all the people with wheelchairs and things like that went up in that section. So then all the kids got to go down to the floor where the bands were. Because it was all steps going down. There was no elevator, there was no ramp, there was nothing. I was like, I want to go down there with the kids. And then I started to feel sorry for myself. And thank God, Bob went down there. And you know what? I just gotta, I know this is off topic a little bit, but it's really not. Sister Sherry, you guys get to know her. She's an amazing, amazing woman of God. She came up there and sat with me. She's like, oh, I'll come up here and sit with you. I was like, that's beautiful. Sitting at a cripple. So we sat there, we had a good time. But you know, in the middle of me sitting there, I started looking and the area started filling up with wheelchairs and other people. And then it was like, okay, reality check. This is how I talk to myself. So then it's like, here you are, sitting here, whining and complaining about your situation that's temporary. And these people have something they have to live with that's not temporary. This is permanent. I was like, you want to feel, I just felt like this big. And I was like, you need to be thankful for what you have. This is temporary for you. So then my attitude instantly changed, and even though it was hard to go to the bathroom and different things, and I was trying to get around and got lost at one point. They set me down the wrong way because I was supposed to go where the youth leaders were, and that was a big old mess and a trip. But I got to go behind the stage, so that was fun. But anyway, it taught me so much because I was just like, God, you know, I need to be thankful for what I have. One of the things that we're in the middle of doing right now that deals with trust is moving. We're in the process of getting ready to move. We're planning on moving by mid-August, end of August, and moving to the big old town of Milledgeville. They have a Casey's and a Dollar General. And I told myself I would never move to a small town that didn't have at least a McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Walmart. And I'm moving to Milledgeville. But you know, God set the whole thing up. It was just amazing watching him work and do all of that. But there's a trust even in that. There's a trust of saying, God, I trust you that when we move there, our friends are going to honor the commitments they're making to us.